and welcome back everyone to Gym Challenge Summer number 3 here at Psycho Turtle Collectibles Game Center, and here we are with our semifinal matchup. I am Jesus Coronel here once again, sitting alongside Dennis Geisler, and we are here for our first semifinal matchup of today. We have Brandon Davis going up against Arnie Wolf, and what are your thoughts about this one, Dennis?
I'm excited. We saw Brandon's team earlier. That was in the first game of the day. That was a pretty interesting matchup and has some interesting Pokemon, but Arnie in particular, very odd team that he has here. He has the Indeedee Armarouge, which has popped up a couple of times in Regulation D. Kind of fell off for a while when Chen Pao and Chi-Yu were released or were made available, and a bunch of dark types aren't good matchups for that, but we'll see if we get to see it here or just any of the many interesting Pokemon. Because if we don't see Indeedee and Armarouge, then the King Gambit will come through.
Yeah, we look at Arnie's team. It is that Armarouge Indeedee with the King Gambit, Iron Hands, Dragonite, and Chen Pao. And if we need to look at Brandon's perspective again, because we are seeing it from his screen, it's the Iron Valiant, Hisuian Gudra, Amoonguss, Landorus Therian, Urshifu Rapid Strike, and Chi-Yu, and both players have locked in, and we will get set for the semi-final matchups shortly.
Yeah, I'm excited for this one. Got an exciting series coming through here.
I just wonder if, I mean, that Iron Valiant for Brandon's done so much work for his team. I wonder if we get to see it here, but we're going to see Indeedee Armarouge straight up for Arnie, and we are going to see Brandon go with a Chi-Yu and Iron Valiant to counter. We have seen this Iron Valiant to have that speed booster.
Yeah, Iron Valiant will just be faster. I don't know if that's a way to deal with Armarouge, though. Chi-Yu does have the Dark Pulse to get rid of Armarouge, probably. Although it won't go through Follow Me, obviously. I don't know if they have any option. If Brandon has any option between the two Pokemon to deal with this Indeedee before the Armarouge gets that Expanding Force off, but even still, not like Expanding Force getting off is the end of the world as Chi-Yu completely walls it.
I mean, all you have really, if you're Arnie right now, is Dazzling Gleam from this Indeedee that even then, I don't think it will be doing too much damage. You're just going to see the Follow Me here, no Terrestrialization here. So Iron Valiant's attack's going to get redirected here, unfortunately. It will be the Moonblast heading into the direction of the Indeedee. That's half its health, and there goes Dark Pulse, and down goes the Indeedee, and I believe Trick Room's being set.
Yeah, I believe the Trick Room is what makes the most sense for Arnie to get going here. Alright, trading the Indeedee for getting the Trick Room up. We'll see what Arnie has in the back. I think Iron Hands would be probably the scariest. And there it is.
Yes, just on time. It is that Iron Hands coming into the game. Now, Iron Valiant is going to be the slowest Pokemon in play right now. And then Chi-Yu pre-threatened by the Iron Hands as well because of that Drain Punch strat. But you have to look at it in a different way. Well, it's like you can only pick one Pokemon at a time unless Expanding Force comes out. So I think its Iron Hands is going to likely be targeting this Chi-Yu.
Yeah, most likely Iron Hands just throws the Drain Punch out in that direction and Armarouge clicks Expanding Force. Really the only thing that Expanding Force does not cover. And it doesn't cover the Hisuian Gudra great. It should be able to eat at least one.
There's the Drain Punch, and it's a one-hit knockout for that Iron Hands. Once again, Chi-Yu not the best of physical defenses as it goes down early to that Drain Punch, and the Expanding Force will stick another knockout, and that Iron Valiant will fall.
Yeah, there it goes. We'll see the Life Orb on the Armarouge getting that extra damage through the Expanding Force in the Trick Room, meaning that it was able to go first. I don't know how Brandon gets out of this one.
Well, we do see this Hisuian Gudra come in and does have the Assault Vest. And now we also see the Amoonguss come in, which would have been nice to switch in earlier in that Trick Room, but you're asking to be KO'd by an Expanding Force.
Yeah, although Amoonguss does have the option to click Spore for one. Gets that option here, although the Terrestrialization is still available for Arnie. Going into Terra Grass with the Armarouge would make the Spore not do anything. Oh, both of them can Terra Grass. So either way, it's a 50-50 whether the Spore would actually connect based on which one Arnie chooses to Terrestrialize.
You know, we're going to see Arnie switch out that Iron Hands, and it is going to be for that Dragonite, so You want to get a reset on that fake out. You want to make sure you get that available, and we're going to see a terrestrialization. I believe this is Brandon's first. If I haven't guessed the speed order correctly, it is going to be that and Amoonguss switching into that water type to make sure it doesn't take a super effective hit from that Armor Rouge.
Exactly, but it'll still take a lot of damage.
And we do see Arnie terrestrialize his Armor Rouge as well.
Yeah, and that means this Armor Rouge will just not have to worry about Spore, and should pretty easily clean out the rest of this game. We'll see how much damage it does to the Hisui and Goodra with the Assault Vest.
Yeah, it's going to be depending on so many things. And Spore actually went into the opposite slot, so Dragonite's going to be put to sleep. And we're probably going to see an expanding force come up in his Armor Rouge next, and it is going to be that said attack. How much damage will we be doing to second terrain? So much damage to the Amoonguss, but almost nothing to the Goodra. And the Goodra just goes for the Draco Meteor, and it is not going to get the knockout on the Armor Rouge as the special attack drops by 2 stages.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I did not think Goodra was that tanky. That is a very, very specially bulky Goodra. Does mean that it has some potential weaknesses on the physical side, and I mean, the Dragonite's asleep. Goodra, Goodra's -2 special attack, though. It's basically limited to Heavy Slam as its best damaging move.
Okay, Armor Rouge just going to protect, make sure it doesn't go down to a Pollen Puff from this Amoonguss, because it's the slowest thing in play so far in the field of play right now. And I believe I did see the Goodra just click Draco Meteor again, and it connects into the Dragonite. This is not multi-scale. Good amount of damage, though.
Good amount of damage, but again, I wonder how much damage this team will be able to put out towards the end of this game. I mean, only the Indeedee has dropped so far for Arnie, so not only does Brandon have to get through both of these Pokemon, but also an Iron Hands at the end.
Yeah, and the Goodra does not want to see an Iron Hands come in here, because Drain Punch can just give it back all the HP you could potentially lose here, and the Amoonguss is not in a great spot right now, especially given that Water Terra.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just wondering if Brandon has any way out, because he could switch. Oh, you see a switch out from the Dragonite, actually, so wants to make sure he just doesn't take a lot of damage with his Iron Hands with that Assault Vest and the -4 special attack from the Draco Meteors. Pollen Puff will go ahead and just go after the Armor Rouge, pick up that knockout, and now this Goodra puts himself in a very bad spot with that Draco Meteor. I mean, even if it misses, it's not going to be doing a lot of damage. It does connect.
Yeah, that's nothing. Yeah, I think the big thing there was making sure that Amoonguss did not click Spore against Iron Hands at any point. So now it's it is Iron Hands is the fastest out of the 2 Pokemon between it and Amoonguss. Goodra realistically isn't doing anything. Iron Hands just kind of has to get rid of Amoonguss, and then I don't really see what Goodra can do.
Dragonite taking a second turn of sleep here, tries to go for something like Extreme Speed, doesn't get it. The Draco Meteor is going to connect at -6. It is enough to knock out the Dragonite, but now he has to deal with an Iron Hands that resists Heavy Slam. Draco Meteor isn't doing much, and Wild Charge just going to pick off the Amoonguss.
Yeah, and I don't personally see, I mean, we'll see how much Heavy Slam does to this Iron Hands, or potentially just another Draco Meteor, which might genuinely still be the strongest move that Brandon can throw out. A critical hit would potentially get through this one.
And here goes the Draco Meteor. That's actually Brandon's last Draco Meteor, and yeah, that's pretty low damage output. And the Drain Punch almost knocks out the Goodra, and I think that just spells game over.
Yeah, it looks like that's probably going to be the game. I think even a critical hit, and yeah, Brandon's not going to play out the rest of that one.
Yeah, he also just ran out of Draco Meteors to use.
Yeah, with no more Draco Meteors, none of the other moves, even with a critical hit, probably could have done it. Yeah, Muddy Water miss, and even then it would end up being a lot of misses in a row that you would have to link up.
Yeah, good win there for Arnie there as he gets the Game 1 victory with that Iron Hands safely protected in the bag. So Arnie now 1 game away from getting into the Grand Finals.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see how this next battle shapes up. Arnie went for that Indeedee Armor Rouge lead that's so famous and pretty easily made it work. It just required getting the Trick Room set up. It sacrificed Indeedee for that, but we'll see if the lead will be different this time for Brandon. trying to work back from this deficit.
Yeah, we see Brandon locking his team already, and once again, we had the scores displayed incorrectly, ladies and gentlemen. I am apologizing in advance. I'm pretty sure we get that fixed soon, but Arnie is up 1-0 on Brandon. And I really want to think that Brandon's lead was just perfect, and correctly identifying that he didn't go for the Terra Fairy, which on the Indeedee would have probably given a survival option and give a helping hand option as well. Maybe it was the right decision not to use the Indeedee for that purpose.
Yeah, it kind of can go a bunch of different ways. It was honestly good to get Indeedee off of the field, because even if it had Helping Hand, it didn't do anything against Chiyu, and then Iron Hands was able to come in and take care of Chiyu, which is really the only thing that Armarouge was especially afraid of moving forward.
Yeah, and then that Sui and Gucci did a lot less damage to Iron Hands, and I wonder if Brandon needs to be able to preserve his Iron Valiant a lot more carefully than he did the first game.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things that I think Brandon has to try to maintain on his team in order to get rid of the threats on Arnie's team. Particularly that Iron Hands just really was not taking any damage against anything that was there.
And even if it went for the Terra Grass, I still don't think Pollen Puff was doing enough damage for that Amoonguss. But see, if anything changes, it's not changing for Arnie.
I mean, it's in a different order. It's on the left is Indeedee this time, and on the right is Armarouge.
And we see a Landorus Chiyu for Brandon, so this is new for him, as the score is still displayed incorrectly, as Brandon needs to win the next 2 games in a row, while Arnie just needs to win 1.
Yeah, and here, I think Brandon has the Rock Slide option for Landorus, I think is the best way to try to go through here. It could potentially crit the Armarouge. It would also just do a lot of damage to the Armarouge. Chiyu could try to focus down the Indeedee again, but I don't know. I don't know how much damage that Dark Pulse would have done to the Indeedee through that.
Oh, we're gonna see a Terrestrialization come out here, and I think this is Brandon going for the no, it's Arnie again going for the Terra Grass onto the Armarouge. Also, make sure that Rock Slide doesn't hit super effective, or that Stomping Tantrum doesn't come out.
Yeah, exactly. It definitely protects a little bit more, but still the Follow Me comes out.
Yeah, just for those who redirect any incoming damage from this U-turn from the Landers. That's a lot of damage that Indeedee took off that critical hit, and takes a bit of Rocky Helmet damage, so definitely will be returning, but not the way it wanted to.
Yeah, and you could argue this was almost the same turn 1, except the Armarouge came out a little bit sooner. We'll see how the rest of the turn plays out, but it's looking pretty similar to the first game.
Yeah, we see the Dark Pulse now, and Indeedee goes down, so once again, this looks like an obvious Trick Room.
Yeah, now there's the opportunity to set Trick Room, and there it goes.
Now, this depends on what Arnie has in the bag, because
Gotta imagine the Iron Hands is still here and can still do the same thing. It means that there's no guessing game. Well, here's the thing. It means there's no guessing game for Amoonguss. Amoonguss can just click Spore on Iron Hands and does not have to be afraid of doing that.
Doesn't have to be. It will be that Iron Hands coming in for Arnie.
Which then cascading means that Chiyu is not afraid of getting knocked out this turn.
Not only that, but Amoonguss is in a situation where the Armarouge went for the early Terra to protect itself from that Landers, potentially, but now it has to deal with a Spore on its partner.
Absolutely. And here comes the Terrestrialization. It'll be Terra Water onto Amoonguss. I like the decision. Just takes away the Expanding Force. Super effective damage means the Amoonguss has to take 2 of them.
Yeah, we do see the Spore come out on Arnie, and that will be Iron Hands going to sleep immediately on this first turn now. And we're going to see if this Armarouge can do something against this Chiyu, which I don't think it has anything to really combat. It just has to go for that Expanding Force to try to take as much damage as possible to that Amoonguss. And it is almost a one-hit knockout.
That was really close.
Dark Pulse comes into the Armarouge, almost takes it out in return.
That was a very close set of events there. Definitely could have gone either way, but now Armarouge on the doorstep of getting knocked out. Amoonguss, as the fastest Pokemon here, is able to pick up the knockout if it wants to, or if the Armarouge stays in. An important part about that last turn, Iron Hands probably would have liked to fake out, but we're still in Psychic Terrain. Kind of the anti-synergy between those two Pokemon, Indeedee and Iron Hands.
Yeah, well, now we're gonna see Chi-Yu swap out into the Landers, maybe potentially anticipating a one-turn wake-up somehow. But Ball and Push should just be another knock to the Armorage, barring a switch. And Armorage, instead switching, just goes for to protect.
Yeah, at some point it'll become more valuable to stall out the Trick Room turns and whatever is in the back that's probably a bit faster. Oh, wow.
It is the one-turn wake-up from his Iron Hands. We'll just pick up the knockout onto the Amoongus, but it takes a bit of Rocky Helmet damage, so... I'm pretty sure there's also 2 turns throughout the Trick Room, so... I saw what Brandon had in the back. It doesn't look like Trick Room is going to be favoring him.
Yeah, that's a huge one-turn wake-up there. It means that an Expanding Force will come out.
We see the Gudra come in for Brandon, so could be a possibility that he could just go ahead and maybe go for that Terra Water, or how do you play around his Iron Hands right now? Because the Landers, while it can threaten to knock out, potentially with that stopping tantrum, it's going to be the last one to move, so it's threatened by that Expanding Force.
Yeah, I think you have to switch someone out into Chi-Yu right now. You can't let both of them take all this damage. Gudra, Chi-Yu being the 2 at the end of the turn is not a bad idea, I feel. I feel like that's probably the best way to go about it. And I don't think you can U-turn, so you have to hard switch. Oh, wow.
Armorage actually is the one that's going to be hard switching, and it's going to be that King Gambit. I would have loved to have taken a couple of Intimidates earlier because of the Defiant ability, but instead...
I mean, it means Landorus is leaving anyways, yeah.
Yeah, this King Gambit just survives for as long as they possibly can and can get a Defiant boost.
Yeah, it certainly can.
But
now what happens on the other side here, though.
Yeah, we're going to see Drain Punch go into the Gudra, going over 100 HP of damage, and it's going to recover back to full HP. Just going to have to depend on what this Gudra did here. Just goes for a Muddy Water. Does double connect on the both Pokemon with that Beast of Ruin ability. No accuracy drops.
No accuracy drops. We were blessed by the randomness this time for no accuracy drops in this E-game here.
However, this is the last turn of Trick Room, I would presume, because it never went away, so...
Yeah.
Oh, this is actually a pretty risky play for Brandon. Trying to swap in the Chi-Yu into a Defiant King Gambit, while this will probably give Gudra survivability against his Iron Hands. I'm not sure what you think of with the King Gambit's chances of knocking something out.
Yeah, I don't know if the Iron... And I still think the Iron Hands might be able to pick up the KO.
Oh, no, never mind. It's going to be the Kowtow Cleave. We'll pick up the knockout on the Gudra, probably regretting going to give that King Gambit that attack boost, but notably will do minuscule damage to the Landorus.
Yeah, it doesn't really do any damage there, but it doesn't really need to. King Gambit is now definitely the scariest thing on the field, and now we're back to normal speed, as well as no more psychic terrain. So we're just good old-fashioned Pokemon sitting here.
On the contrary, Chi-Yu can threaten both these Pokemon with a knockout thanks to the Beats of Ruin and Choice Specs it's holding with that Heat Wave, but that just gives Armorage free bait to get into Flash Fire. But now, yeah, it's going to be a Sucker Punch into the Landorus. It's enough for a knockout. It's Chi-Yu versus the world. If it locked itself into a Fire type attack, it's automatically over.
Yeah.
And it is what happens. Oh boy. King Gambit goes down. Iron Hands can still use Drain Punch, and Armorage just walls this Chi-Yu that is locked into Heat Wave. How much is this Drain Punch going to be doing? Good amount of damage, but...
Enough for 2 hits. I mean, honestly, at this point, as much as Chi-Yu can't do anything to Armorage, Armorage also can't do anything to Chi-Yu. Armorage actually, if it does damage to Chi-Yu, it gets knocked out because it has the Life Orb. So Chi-Yu realistically has to get rid of Iron Hands only, and Armorage will naturally knock itself out, but it's still locked into Heat Wave.
And here we go. We'll just get a critical hit on the Iron Hands. It does not. Does it get a burn? No burn, and that's Arnie going to be able to win the set 2-0 and will advance to Grand Finals.
Yeah, just really solidly played, and it means we'll get a little bit more of this Indeedee Armorage duo that, I mean, has dominated so many parts of the Scarlet and Violet VGC scene.
Yeah, I mean, Armorage Indeedee has been through several phases. I feel like Regulation C has been its worst phase so far.
Yeah, and it's nice seeing it come back a bit in Regulation D, where, again, not too many Dark types flying around, obviously the Chi-Yu, but very well played around the Chi-Yu, and there were the Iron Hands in particular was a really good companion to this team, getting the Trick Room up early, saying, okay, this Indeedee doesn't matter, the Indeedee can leave as soon as possible, and allowing other Pokemon to play around the Armarouge. So there were so many damage threats and so many slow, bulky Pokemon that were so hard to deal with for Brandon.
Yeah, and because of that, he will finish in that top 4 phase. And coming up next, after a short break, we are going to get our grand finals matchup. We are going to see Arnie in the final. Who will we face in the grand finals? You'll see soon, and we'll be right back.